Snez, this is so wonderful to have you on the show.
Awesome.
I didn't know you had a podcast.
I do. Yes. I started my podcast probably about, I'm going to say 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago.
You need to
And
have a podcast. I love this. What's it called?
It's called Beyond the Coach.
Beyond the Coach. Okay.
Yes.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. That's actually a kickoff to my first question to you. How did you get into coaching? Everyone calls you Coach Snez.
Yes,
How
they
did
do.
this start?
Well, I started when I was super young, because I was in the gym and I was, quite good at the gym and I enjoyed it. And I found that it helped so much with my performance in soccer. And I figured, like it was something that I was really good at. And then it actually kind of started with me wanting to dive deeper into going into like university and, you know, getting myself better at my knowledge and my experience and like kind of like diversifying myself. So when I wanted to go into uni, one of my teachers said you should go and become a trainer, and I was like, all right, well, I'll go and check that out. So I started there when I was 18, and I really never let it go. Actually initially didn't like going to the gym just because of how much the requirement was, right? Like it was a lot of effort. And when you're like playing soccer to the capacity that I was, you're hitting like 20 hours a week on the field. You don't really want to be training anything more because you're just so tired and you're dedicated. So for me, I didn't necessarily
It's
like the
interesting
gym.
you say
Then I
that because when
saw the
I
benefit.
played soccer, that was actually some of my favorite days was the gym days. But I didn't really like
Yeah,
playing soccer. I just liked being a part of a team. I was really fast, but I didn't actually
yeah,
really like playing. So gym days were kind of my
yeah.
thing when it came to soccer.
Well, yeah. So, well, I grew a love for it. So I got into it. I stuck with it. I ended up kind of like expanding myself in it. So not only just doing like just the training side of it and being a trainer, but I then became a nutritionist. I then became a rehab trainer. And then I kind of like just, improved my qualifications and my knowledge. And yeah, and now here I am. I've been doing it for almost 17 years, which is crazy. It's a long time.
That is a long time,
I
17
know.
years. Well, there's a lot of
Yeah.
tenure there. We missed before we started recording. We were talking about how we met down the road of where I'm recording right now, which is a total coincidence. The world always works in funny ways to make you laugh sometimes. And this would be one. I'm in Huntington Beach, right down the Equinox that I actually joined again, rejoined Equinox recently. I wish I was closer to you. But we're going to talk about how people can get more of you if they aren't in your backyard. But yeah, what is your memory of when we first met? Kind of, we have a fun story.
Oh my gosh, yes, we do. I remember meeting you and hearing just, with where you were working at the time and just your energy is just like pretty contagious. I think that that's something that I definitely gravitated towards, and your drive and ambition to do more. I think I gravitated towards that, and I just like really liked how you were into yoga and fitness as a whole. And there's a lot of people that don't understand the importance of having as much method of movement as possible, and that's what I really liked about you, because you would do so many different styles of training or fitness in general. So I remember that, and I remember us just always having a good time every time we met up. So
Yes,
it's
I
cool.
love that you have a podcast now because I always loved your voice. I think
Okay.
that was definitely something that, when I first met you, I was like, can you just like keep talking to me? Like I loved working for that brand because I also, I met a lot of cool people like you, two times you. It was a really great part of my life. I was with a couple of my coworkers last night that I have brought into my new brand that used to work at that company. And I was telling
Nice.
Brian, I don't know if you remember Brian, that I was
Yep.
talking with you today and his eyes just lit up. You have made an impact on so many people. And that's definitely why I wanted you to have you on the show today. I wanted to talk about how movement can really be, a mental health ritual. It can be something that people obviously in a vain way, you can look good after training with Snez, but, I think something for me is my empowerment and my confidence levels are always through the roof after I spend time training with you. So I wanted to dive into a little bit of those topics with you. Coming off of this week, I never really knew Twitch or followed him or knew this story, but you know, just watching this on the internet and to bring this up since it is kind of something that happened recently. My mom was a big fan and she called me hysterically crying and she was like, Katie, I don't understand. He's always posting videos and he's always so happy. Social media is a lie. And I stopped her and I said, and I was thinking about this conversation with you, and I go, no, I don't think it is a lie. I think that is probably he's posting when he's the most happy because he's moving and he's in his body. And I can relate to that when I'm working out, or, you always do BTS with some of your clients that are okay with it because people are in their power, they're moving and they feel good. And I feel like even had an aha moment. I'm like, he's posting those things probably not for fake news, but because those are the times he's feeling the best because he was dancing and he was moving. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that? What do you want to share on this?
Um, from a personal experience, I suffered really bad depression and anxiety. And this was on several different occasions. So this was something that kind of hit pretty hard for me as well, just because anytime a story comes up with anybody, I think it's so important that society bring as much awareness to mental health as possible. When I see and hear about these stories where people do take, that final road, it's the saddest thing in the world for me. And it breaks my heart to hear it because usually people do provide signs well ahead of the time. And, they're very obvious signs, but no one actually acts upon it. People hear it, people support it, but they don't act on it. And that's where the trouble essentially is when people are, so down and they're in a very dark place. They also have the complete opposite. So when, you talk about how people, him in particular, he was posting so much of the this happiness and these great times. He still had that. That was very real for him. And but he's not going to post the alternative, and that's the hard part. He probably would have shown that in some capacity, behind closed doors or even on his own or in whatever way. And that's the area that most people miss. And this is what the problem with social media is. So many people will only post the smiling photos, the happy moments, the times that are great, but they will not show the other times because they're scared that, maybe people won't like them. Maybe people won't appreciate or value them the same, and I just posted something yesterday about all the harder moments in my recovery from my knee surgery. And that kind of blew up because it's real and it's authentic. And I think that the more that we can be more authentic and both in movement, right, and mental health and everything like that, the better we're going to be, and the less of this is going to actually happen. And so when I hear about this stuff, I'm like, he was a great guy. He was, I loved watching him. Like for me in particular, like I always watched him. So I was super sad about that.
Ellen. And I was also reading a book. I've had a lot of these moments that I was like, wow, we're meant to be having this conversation together today. It's going to help someone. It kind of makes me a little emotional talking about it because it's heavy. But all of this full circle and knowing that, maybe this happening to him was what all of us needed to see so we could reach out to people that are hurting and, look inside ourselves and, where are we not paying attention to dark places that we all have.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of mental health, movement is going to be your number one medicine for that, right? Because we want to create the adrenaline, we want to get those endorphins out, and we want to do it the right way. So a lot of the time people will, really go ham with, there's so many other ways to release endorphins as well, but doing it through movement is always going to be the healthiest and safest option. And a lot of people don't understand that, right? Like, and this is the thing, like there are a lot of vices out there that actually release the same endorphins as exercise, like binge eating does the exact same thing. It's just the
Yeah, give me
opposite.
some more. What are some other ones that people can be aware of that they're doing that maybe they're not realizing?
Unfortunately, sex is a huge one,
Mm,
where people like, people who
I think
watch
that
porn.
was like that seems like an odd like a duh, but I feel like in my journey of just like being single the longest I've been since like I don't know, date and noticing what an issue that is for
Oh
people.
my gosh, yeah.
They're literally
People,
addicted to sex, and that's
they
it,
are.
it's
Yeah.
actually very sad.
It's really sad, especially because they don't then, they're not necessarily doing it because they love the person or they're actually truly like, in a good relationship. They're just doing it to, try and
They're
get
stuck
that
in their
endorphin
first
release.
two chakras, and they're not moving up the spine to a more
Yes. Yeah.
spiritual place.
Yep. And it doesn't necessarily have to, and it could like, and that doesn't necessarily have to be that you're with someone. It could be watching porn. It could be anything. And that's also a big one as well. And then obviously people, turn to substances, that obviously do a lot of like detriment to the body long term. So there is a lot of different ways that people can kind of like create that. But always going to be the safest bet is doing it through movement, fitness, things like that, things that are going to bring you into a better awareness of yourself for
Mhm.
sure and raise your frequency. So, a lot of the time people don't actually really understand, like, oh, I always feel better after my workout. There's a very scientific reason behind that. We don't need to necessarily dive into that, but there is what people do need to understand is that the value in working out at the end of it, what you've done is you've actually rewired your brain. And as you've done that, that's what's making you ultimately feel better. Your brain is in connection with your body and everything just, kind of goes to a new level.
Yeah. So you mentioned earlier I like took notes on you because I'm a recruiter now. So I'm like always taking notes on what people say so I can go back to it so I don't interrupt you the whole time. You mentioned you didn't like going to the gym. So how does someone
Yes.
who owns a gym, has a successful business, you just reminded me that you are human. So I think sometimes I would feel the best after visiting you, but I would have a little anxiety like, oh, what's that going to make me do today? And it's hard sometimes to motivate. So what are some things that has worked for you? Because you're human and you have those moments too. Like, do I really want to work out today? Like, how do you motivate? What are some attainable things that the normal person can take away from you to get
Yeah.
themselves to work out?
One of the main things that I do that get me to go to the gym is because I want to get rid of something. I don't go to the gym to get something. I go to get rid of something. In other
I
words,
love that.
maybe I
That's
have,
like a tweetable moment. I'm gonna take this out of that. That's gonna be something that we quote.
yeah.
What are you letting
So
go
I
of? I love that.
and it could be negative self-talk. It could be maybe like a fight you had with someone. It could be maybe you're sitting in like a negative emotion, but you're trying to get rid of that because you need to get yourself into some clarity. And the only way you're going to get into some clarity is if you raise your level of awareness. You're not going to be clear and in your conscience or anything unless you have more clarity in yourself, in how you're thinking, how you're being, like what you're doing. So when you go and you do your workout, you kind of get like different points of connections, and you're in your head. Everybody's in their head, right? Every workout, everyone's in their head, because every single rep that you do not want to do another one. No one wants to do another one. No one's in the gym going, yeah, just keep going until I hit like 100. Like no one's doing that.
Yeah,
Everyone's
I
there
think
going,
everyone
oh gosh,
needs
when.
to like remember that, and then it kind of makes it come down a little bit. Like like Michael
Yes.
Jordan, he had to like work at this, and
Yeah,
it's
and there's,
not like he wanted
yeah,
to. It's discipline.
exactly. And you have to look for it a little bit, like, so one of the, I think Arnold used to say this. I'm not sure. I might be quoting someone wrong, but they
Another
used to say,
cool
I didn't stop.
moment.
I didn't start counting until I started feeling it. Right. So they like, and that's how I now think about my training. Like I'll start counting once I feel my body really feeling the reps. Like that's when I start counting, because that's when I know growth is. Growth is when you're trying to put yourself in a place where you're uncomfortable, no matter what it is. And that is essentially what fitness is. You're placing yourself willingly in an area where you are so uncomfortable, because you're doing things either that you are struggling to do, you're doing new things, maybe you're doing old things, but you're not good at them still, and all of those things. Like if you go into the gym and you only do what you're good at, you're not growing. You're basically just going there to show off. So like people that go there and they're actually trying to change what their regular is, and they're trying to push their body, whether it be more weight, maybe it's a different method, doesn't matter what it is. Those are the ones that are going to grow and develop. And it's part of our human needs, right? Tony Robbins talks about this. 6 human needs, not like one of the key ones is growth. So if you don't put yourself in a place of discomfort, you aren't growing. And if you're not growing, you're staying the same. And that is way worse.
Oh my gosh, so many things that I want to ask off of that. That was amazing. We're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
You like all my drinks, by the way? I've got orange juice. I've got like a box water, coffee.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff you got going on there.
I know. Did you have a drink? Did you bring a coffee to Coffee and Crystals?
No. Is that what it is?
You have,
Coffee and crystals?
yep. Do you have a favorite crystal?
You need to tell people. Okay. No, I don't. You need to tell people bring a coffee to Coffee and Crystals.
Yeah, you're right. See, I knew I would get some good takeaways from you. So you said that I like that you said to get uncomfortable, and that kind of is a good segue to a question I had because I want to know about Snez's morning routine because I feel like it's probably a disciplined routine, but the reason why is I noticed in this last year I have just like really up leveled my morning routine. I am very proud of myself. I drink out of a spiritual cup. I stretch, I journal, which has been amazing because I want to write a book one day. So the thing that was holding me back is I wasn't writing. I'm reading more in the morning. I water my plants because I have a million, so I need time to like do it throughout the week. And I have like this cleaning that I do because then I just feel like my house is always clean now, which is amazing. Just makes my brain feel good. But then I had this aha moment that I think I made my morning routine too uncomfortable because like I need to get back into the gym in the morning. Do you know about Prakrtis, the Ayurvedic like personalities?
I've heard of. I don't know very much.
Anyway, I think that I'm mostly kapha, which is kind of like a slow, sluggish energy. And I was like, I think I created a morning routine that's like too comfortable. So I want to get back into a high energy fire building because for me, I just know that, and I'm good at my workouts, but I feel like me doing it and at the end of the day is actually not good for my anxiety because I'm always thinking like it's like I'm always thinking I'm going to let myself down. So I'm like, I need to like make my morning routine a little bit more uncomfortable, get that workout in the day. And then if I make it back to a yoga class, then I'm like going to feel even better about myself because I did, more physical activity anyway. So that's kind of why I like that you said, you have to make yourself uncomfortable because it's true, back to the mental health. We think that humans and Americans, we think everything's supposed to be comfy all the time. So then when uncomfortable shit happens, we're like, oh, whoa, poor me. But it's like, no, we have to actually put ourselves into uncomfortable situations so that we can react better to them. So when they arrive. So with all that, what's your morning routine? We got to know.
Every day is very, very much the same. It doesn't change. So I wake up early. I wake up at 4 a.m., sometimes a little earlier than that. If I can try and get up earlier.
4 a.m. What's your secret? How do you like get up? My alarm would go off and I'm like, that was too ambitious. And I'll just like reset my alarm. How do you like jump out of bed at 4 a.m.?
It's the discipline. I literally tell myself every day, I'm not getting up for me. And if I'm not getting up for me, I'm actually putting myself in a place to serve the world. And if I am getting up and I'm going to, present myself to people and be the best that I can be for people, I got to get my butt up. Like I'm making it
inspiring.
Every time someone snoozes, they're basically snoozing on the button that says, I'm selfish.
Damn it. I'm selfish.
And no one wants to be selfish. Like no one wants to actively be like, oh, I'm selfish. I'm going to sleep more because I'm so comfortable. Like, no, like this is the difference. I'm not
even comfortable, but I'll still snooze. Anyone listening to this? I don't know. I hope I'm not alone.
So many people want to snooze. So many people. And it's a very normal human kind of like want out there. But this is where you have the differentiators, right? You have the top 2% that won't do that because they have a purpose out there.
So 4 a.m. wake up call, then what?
Yep. And sometimes it's before that. If I can, I will definitely do it. If my body wakes up, then I always start my day with water. So I'll always have 20 ounces of water. I always encourage everybody to start their day with water. Like you have to like cleanse your mind, right? Don't go straight for coffee. Go straight for water. That's
I've
yeah,
actually
like that's
stopped drinking coffee. Well, I'm drinking coffee now and it's about 11 a.m., but usually my
yeah.
first cup now has been like around 1, which is like improvement for me. So I do matcha, I do my greens, I hydrate with water as the first thing. I've just learned to give my body what it really needs. And then I'll get my coffee once I'm like really getting into the grind because that's like a treat. Like you did all your morning stuff, you're like prepared for the day, you can have your coffee now.
Nice. Yeah. So yeah, I'll do that, but then I will make a coffee and that'll be my first thing. And while I'm drinking my coffee, I'll always read a page out of a book, just
Okay,
so I
what are
can
you
learn
reading now?
something.
Give us some book info.
Oh, well, so I love The Art of Living by Epictetus. That's a Stoic philosopher.
Yeah,
And then I
I
also
love
like
that guy.
yeah, that one's really good. I really love The Daily Stoic. That's a great book too. Because I'm not a big like I can't read pages and pages. I don't have I mean, I'm pretty like I don't have that much time in the morning. So I want to just
Yeah,
read a page so I can learn something. That's really it. I want to learn
like
something,
a
so that's
little
why I do it.
pinch of
I'll,
inspiration. That's what I do in the morning. I read my
yep. So
novels at
once I've
night, and in the morning I'm looking for that motivation too.
Yeah, cool. So I'll do that, and then I'll straight after that is I'll write in my journal. So I'll journal
Okay.
for yeah.
You're
So
a
then that
journaler
way,
too.
yeah, every day. Can't I won't miss. I won't miss. And
You
then
hear that, listeners? I've been talking about it on this podcast. I feel like every podcast there's some sort of insert about like get your ritual of journaling in. It could literally change your life. And you don't like you're not trying
it
to be a
really
writer, or
does.
maybe you are. I don't know. Maybe you would
I
actually
wrote
probably
yeah, I actually wrote a book, and I'm about to publish it soon. So
amazing. Oh my God. Okay.
yeah,
Well, I will definitely be your hype girl when that drops and
thank
share,
you,
share,
thank you.
share. But I also think that journaling for people, for we like to write, but it's not even, I think it's for everyone who doesn't even want to write a book, is basically what I'm trying to say. You can write
Yeah,
out your thoughts, your emotions, your mental state, put it all on paper. And sometimes it can even turn into a really good to-do list that sets you up for the day. I mean, that happens to me sometimes. I'm just like, I end up writing everything I need to do today, which is also helpful because you made the time to do that. So you have a plan.
exactly, exactly. And you know what? A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like to write, or I don't really want to, dive into deep with that. And sometimes you have to just write 2 sentences. Like there
Mhm.
is no expectation
Or a
on
word,
journaling.
like a mantra.
It doesn't, yeah, it can be anything. And I think that that's where people are like, oh, I don't have time for that. Like you don't have time to write a sentence. You have time to text. Like you have time to scroll.
Mhm.
Stop talking. So that's I think it's key. I think it's definitely key to do that. Just to kind of gather your thoughts. And then straight after that, I'll hit a workout. I'll make sure I get a good breakfast in, and then I'm set. I'm ready for my day.
All right. What's the workout? What are your like moving out of the morning routine? But more of like the SNES workouts in a week. What does that look like? Do you work out every day? Do you have rest
Every day.
days?
No, every day. Every day is a workout, Monday to Sunday. I don't, if I train smart, I can train every day. If I train stupidly, I can't train every day. So I have to just like think about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. I definitely will back off on weights on one day a week. Like I'll just do focus more on like conditioning, cardio stuff, yoga
I need more
recovery kind of
cardio
stuff.
in my life.
Yeah. So,
Like,
but other, yeah,
that.
every day is basically like I got to do something, and I'll probably just focus a little bit more on like specific areas I want to improve on. Like maybe one day is more strength based, the next day might be a bit more conditioning based, and it just changes every day. But I definitely do some form of lifting every day, but one day.
Okay. What are some like tips, if someone wanted to start training with you and get on your program and was new to working out, what would you kind of, I'm sure you have like a session with people and talk to them about their specific goals. But what are some things that you would tell someone that, all of us listening could do in their
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways, right? So one of the things that I have actually like 7 programs that I offer. So some
cool,
people can't
a
to,
lucky
yeah,
number.
I know. Yeah. I don't know, but it just came up with 7. So I have like a strength program. I've got a body weight only program for people that maybe don't have access to the gym. I have a bodybuilding program. I've got a conditioning only program. Like, so there's a lot of different variations. So if someone, like, the first thing I say to someone is, what do you want? Like, what do you want? Not what does your friends want, your family want, like, not what social media wants. It's literally, what do you want? And when I tell people
Probably
this,
a hard question for people because as you're
yeah,
saying this, I'm like, I think I can confidently like answer that to you now, but 3 months ago
yeah,
or a year ago when you were training me, I'd probably just start crying. Oh no, Snez.
yeah. And that's okay though. So one thing that people, it doesn't have to be crazy. Someone might say, I want to be fitter, right? But what does that look like? Does that look like a smaller version of you? Does that look like the same version but able to lift a lot? Does that look like someone that can run a half marathon? What does fitness look like to you? And so that
Uh-huh.
would be what I would ask people. I would ask people that exact question, like, what does fitness look like to you? And what does your, the 10.0 version of you look like? And
Yeah.
I'm literally saying, when you look in the mirror, what do you want to see? Because someone can look in the mirror and be like, I want to see someone that has muscles. All right, cool. Well, like, you got to focus on your strength then.
I don't
And
know if
then,
I'd say that to you because I would know what was coming next.
yeah.
You
So,
sound
I mean, it just
different.
depends. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that that's kind of like the case. Like, if I think someone wants, most people, when I say, what's your goals? They're like, oh, I want to lose some weight. Like, what does that look like? Like, it's losing weight could be any type of weight. But when someone says, I just want to wear the outfit that I used to wear 3 years ago and I looked great in it. Like, that might be a goal for someone. And
Uh-huh.
like, okay, well, to get there, here's the journey. Let me pave this pathway, and you gotta walk that pathway. And when you walk in that pathway, guess what? I'm gonna walk it with you. And that's like the good part. So um I hold people accountable. Every week I do accountability
Yes,
calls, so
you
I make
do.
sure that they're on the road.
That's
Yeah.
one of your company
Yes.
values, right?
Yes, accountability, yes. So and I think that most people, they fall off because they don't have someone kind of going, hey, like, step up your game a little bit. Yeah, you're going to fall short here and there, but don't fall off. Fall short, don't fall off. Big difference.
Teachable moment. Short. Don't fall off.
Yeah.
All right. Another quick commercial break. Couple last questions for you, girl.
No worries.
All right. Obviously, to protect your client's privacy, you don't have to give me names, but to all the lives that you've changed, you've definitely made an impact on my circle over the years. Me, absolutely. After 2020 and my divorce, I knew that I just wanted to look in the mirror, like you mentioned earlier, and just love myself again. I had like lost myself. And the first person I knew that would be able to make me feel confident and empowered was you. So it's like I drove, which I just like don't have the schedule to do that anymore, but I would like drive sometimes from LA to Brea. It would be like an hour and a half to get to you, but I knew that I needed it. I needed someone to hold me accountable, like you said, and the feeling I would have after leaving you was just incredible. But I know that my story is probably minimal to the lives that you have changed. So I don't know, give the listeners kind of an example of maybe a client that you've helped in the past, through movement and something that kind of like warmed your heart or made you feel really proud of yourself for what you do to people.
Yeah, I'll tell you the most recent one actually. Recently, I had a client that came off her anxiety medication that she was on for 10 years. So she
Wow,
came to me.
that's
She
hard for
came,
people.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. So she came to me, she just wanted to lose some weight, get fitter, right? That was the very first thing, until we kind of broke down, what does that look like and what does that mean? And once she kind of said to me, I revisit people's goals on a regular basis because I just really want to know, is it still that, or is it something deeper than that?
Because it does change. And I think people get frustrated by that. So I like that commentary because I think I had to have that
Yeah.
realization because I would get frustrated. But then I was like, but look how I pivoted. So that was my goal. That was like the intention. But we pivoted over here and it's good to reassess. So I like that. Keep going.
Yeah. So this client came to me and she wanted to get fitter and she wanted to get stronger and she wanted to kind of like, just improve her overall health. And once we dove deeper into understanding like where she was at, we started to understand like, okay, there is way more to this than what we think. So she definitely had trained her body and her mind to be so reliant on anti-anxiety medication that for 10 years she was on it. And it couldn't be just a straight, okay, come off it, cold turkey. It doesn't work like that. Because you have withdrawals. And when you have withdrawals, you go through some really heavy stuff. And those heavy moments, the moments that really have to like basically they want you to go back to it. Like it doesn't at all want you not to go back to it. So
I feel like this could be a whole podcast episode on this like anxiety med culture. That's the real epidemic. Anyway, go on.
So I helped her get off this anxiety medication slowly. We got her to focus more, redirecting her focus. We got her to redirect her focus into working out, eating healthier, taking some time to really kind of like sit with herself and get a little bit more clear on what she was doing. So we did that more than anything. And she came off it. It took her 2 months to come off it, 2 full months, which is actually not that bad.
Though I feel like people, my ex, I mean, he was trying for like 3 years to wean off. So that is incredible.
Yeah. So, it was such a big thing, for that to happen. And we just did it slowly and we kind of got it, so it was really cool.
I love it.
Really cool. Yeah. So that was probably one of my, my biggest things, one of my biggest recent achievements. I've had so many. I've been super grateful to work with so many people and really help them like, achieve, sometimes even like getting them out of a really, really dark place.
Yeah.
That's one.
What are some ways, especially, now that there's so many facets of your business that you touch people, how do you feel like some of this movement for healing wisdom could go viral? Like how do you feel like people like yourself and I'm trying to spread the news and be a better leader in this area as well to really get people to start moving. We're all hurt, we're not immune to these anxiety and depression, we all have it. So how can we like help this like wisdom of movement for mental health go viral? Or what are you doing maybe already?
You know what it is? There are so many people who talk and don't walk, right? How many people say, yeah, you just got to go and do this X, Y, and Z, and you got to kind of take care of your body and you got to do this. And then all of a sudden we see those people saying those things, doing the opposite. So no one is going to listen to someone that doesn't follow through. Like no one's going to listen to that. So if you're going to lead by example,
everything, right? Even in a business that's not about movement and, health, that's in the workplace. Sometimes the best leaders are because they're actually like walking the walk, doing the thing.
Yes, exactly. And that's the biggest thing that I see so many people who talk a big talk, but they aren't doing anything. And that's the hard part, right?
And
because
some of them are really good at talking the talk. Like people can really like get into it and like be inspired. And then they're like, wait, hold on, this isn't genuine.
Yeah. One of the things that I really like struggle with is when trainers or coaches call themselves trainers or coaches, but they don't even look like it. Like when you're walking, like when I'm walking around,
I'm like sitting up better. I'm like
people, people are like when if you're a trainer, people shouldn't have to ask you what you do. They should be like, hey, you're a trainer, right? Like they just need your affirmation, like they just need your assurance. But if you have to walk around and be like, so what do you do for your job? And you're like, wow, do I really not look that fit? Like I should look fitter.
Yeah.
Right? Like
you freaking look fit, girl.
Oh, thank you. How many times, this is the best way of putting it. If I saw someone in public that had incredible teeth, I'd be like, are you a dentist?
I am like,
I would ask him that question.
By the way, side note, I'm visiting him on Monday and I'm like, he's so cute. Anyway, go on.
So I think that's what people don't understand, right? Like, and social media is your resume to the world. If you want to promote mental health and healing and growth and being good about yourself, please stop putting on like you're partying and you drinking and you having a good time with your friends. Gosh, that's bullshit. Holy moly. I cannot stand someone that does
I
that.
can
It's
fall
like,
into that. I feel like this last year I really like had to look at myself hardcore in the mirror with that as well. Like this is not yogic behavior. And not only do I need to get it off social media, I need to like get it out of my life. So yeah, I
yeah,
like that about you because, everything you see, and I'll tag the information of how people can follow you because you're super inspiring. But your social
thank you.
media is the real deal. You're showing people how you show up in the world, and it's healthy and it's inspiring. And yeah, there is a lot of like drinking on everybody's social media. Like everybody's like
But you
showing
know
their
why?
free drinks all the
Because
time.
people think it's fun. People think it's fun. They don't think drinking is a vice, right? It's not a vice, right? But it is a vice. No one wants to
It's a
know that. No one
vice.
wants
It's
to be
just because,
told.
I feel like, people get down on people who are doing like hard drugs, but like liquor is just as bad. It's just for some
Yeah.
reason legal because it makes so
Yeah.
much money,
And
I
look,
guess.
I'm not going to say that you can't have like one or two here and there because you can. Like, I'm not going to be like that kind of person. But like, just going out and just like you getting just like wasted. But then the next day you go and tell someone, oh, hey, you should really go to the gym. You're like, wait, what? Should I go to the gym or should you stop drinking like you did last night? I'm
Right.
confused. Like,
Like
no
move
one's
with
going to listen to
integrity, people. You always used to say,
exactly.
make good
So,
choices. Do you still say that to
yeah,
people?
so I think that that's the thing. That's back to your question. Have some integrity. That's it. Have integrity is doing the right thing all the time, not just some of the
Yeah.
time, not when you feel like it. Integrity is doing the right thing all the time.
Yeah.
That's
And
my
honestly, if, what do you think? Why do you think people struggle with that though? Is it just back to the discipline? And I think also when people fall off, they like start to feel really bad about themselves and then they like spiral even more.
I think a lot of it is no one is their true self,
Man.
and no one is like their true self, and
Hey,
no one
hold
knows
on.
how to.
The
That's right.
dog. Hold on. Hotel light. Ben.
um,
Go ahead.
I would I would say that the biggest reason why people struggle to stay on track is because they're not who they say they are.
Yeah.
It's very hard to be who you say you are but not actually who you are, right? They're two different versions. Like you
Yeah.
have two sets of selves, and the self that is authentic and real, like knows what's right, knows that they should probably do what's right. But the other version is, but what about what everyone else wants me to do? What about what society wants me to do? How's it going to look to people? Like, and you start to then go, well, how about I compromise my true inner sense of self for the benefit of everyone around me? And it's okay to do that because of X, Y, and Z. And then at the end of the day, when the head goes on the pillow, you're like, I hate who I am
Yeah.
to others. I want to be who I want to be, but I don't feel like I have the courage to be that. And you do. Like everyone has the capacity to be who they want to be. All they have
Yeah.
to do is actually just like overcome some of that fear, and
Love
they're
it.
going to be able to do it, you know?
Yeah, you really just tapped into because this is a very spiritual podcast. We talk about purpose. We talk about, you kind of nailed the ending of getting into that spiritual realm because you don't necessarily have to know your purpose, but you do have to listen to those whispers. If it's a yes, if it's a no, and then people fall into these vices, and I don't think they even actually really want them because they're not listening to themselves. So anyone
And this,
listening, if you don't feel like you know who you want to be or who your purpose is, just start listening to actually what you want to do and how you want to feel might be
yeah, and a
helpful.
lot of the time, like honestly, like people are just like not even coherent. Like they're
Yeah.
they're very unconscious to it. Like they don't mean it. People aren't like, oh, I want to do this. Like they don't
Right.
mean it until the emotions start to set in and go, why do I feel like that? Like, why do I feel a little empty? And but yet when I'm on these highs, I'm on these highs, but when I'm by myself, I'm on a low. Like, what's going on there? And that's really where the power is. The power is in the low, not in the high. The power is in the low. Do
The
something about it.
power is in the low. That's, how we kicked off talking about being uncomfortable. Like, how can you become more uncomfortable so you can continue to learn and change and grow? Got to see what kind of is still bringing you down because that's where the growth is. I used to always say when I was more in like a leadership role in my work. Now I do like a lot of conversations and recruiting and focusing on the podcast. So my career has changed. So I'm not like I'm inspiring people differently. But when I was a manager, I used to always say, if you feel uncomfortable, great. That means you're growing. That means you're learning something today. Like, stop getting all worried about being uncomfortable. Like, get more comfortable being uncomfortable. I can't say that enough on this podcast. But what's next, Snez? What's next for you? You mentioned a book, which is super exciting. But, where can my listeners get more of you? If they're not local in Brea, how can people get more of coaching and mentoring from Snez?
So I mean, I do coaching and mentoring online as well. So I
Amazing.
branched into the online. I branched into the online space so I could be way more present for as many people as I can and actually
Okay, and
help
I'll
them.
put that in the show notes of this podcast so people can find you. So we'll get all that together.
Yes, cool. So you can definitely find me on Instagram. I'm very fast at responding and I try to be as
Yeah, she
helpful as I
is.
can on Instagram. So that's just Snezv. So SNEZV. I'm like the one and only that has that name. So it's kind of helpful
Hell
to
yeah, and it
find
means
me.
Snow White, right?
It's Snow White. Yes, correct.
Love it.
That's very correct. So yeah, there, and I also have a website which is snezv.com, so you can always find all of everything that I do as well. Because I don't just do the workouts, I do the coaching, I do the mindset stuff, I do the mental toughness stuff. I do like all the mentoring through there as well. So you can find me there. You can also just find me in my gym, which is Ausletics. So I'm also at the gym a lot as well.
Such a cool place. Awesome. Well, I guess I'll open it up to you to end this. You're a podcast hostess now too. So what do you want to ask me?
Um, I would love to know what your vision is for yourself.
I'm glad you asked this because I have just been like buckling down the last 60 days. My
Yeah.
vision is to get out of my own way. I think even just last night, I was re-inspired just being around coworkers I'm very remote, and in this new role, I travel to new markets, and a lot of solo work this last year. I've kind of like in the past always been surrounded by a team, but my point is just being around people. And honestly, I can say it without like sounding cocky, but people were like gravitating towards me. They wanted to
Mm,
know, what you tell me about your podcast? Like, I just kind of was super lifted up and reminded, like, I am making an impact. But sometimes that
mm,
low energy, the uncomfortableness was telling me, like, oh, no one's even listening. No one even cares. I kind of stopped, like, off my social media game hasn't been as strong. So, I think I'm getting out there. I need to start telling my story more. I need to start reconnecting with people like you. Super excited to have you on the show. Um, and yeah, start telling my story and write a book
mm.
and do more coaching and mentoring myself more in the mental health place
Yes,
because I have a lot of credentials to get people to understand that they're not alone. And yeah, that's where
I
I'm
love
headed.
it.
You're going to see
I
more
love
of
it.
me and more videos. Remember, I feel like I tried like back in the day to like have a podcast before. I think that was a podcast. Like we even did like a video interview together in Ausletics when you first opened. Like I think it's fun to like get more of these like interactive, maybe like get my YouTube channel up and going, stuff like that.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, awesome. All right. Well, you have a good Saturday
Thank
in
you. Thank you. I
Orange
appreciate your
County. I'm
time
headed
here.
back to LA today. So what do you got going
All
on?
right. I've got just I do, like I said, I do my coaching, a lot of coaching on Saturday. I like to, while everyone's out having fun, I got my clients that are dialing it in. And that's the best part. I got people like going, no, I'm more focused on a Saturday. So I work with the ones that are more focused on a Saturday, not the ones that are getting ready to go out for a big night.
I like it. That's also how I've been spending my weekends. It's TKW, it's all about business, but I also need to
Yeah.
hit the
And
gym.
yes, do that too.
All right, girl. Thank you so much for your time.
I
And I hope
appreciate
to
it.
see you soon. I got to swing through. All
All right. We'll talk soon.
right. Bye.
Bye.